Hi guys, and welcome back to another video on the Hunts and Mugs channel. Today we're going to be talking about Manchester City. Obviously, as a Manchester City fan, I'm very looking forward to this one. And as time of recording, we're just coming off the back of a great 3-1 away victory at the London Stadium against West Ham. So very topical, and yeah, looking forward to talking about how dominant we've been so far this season.
Oh, I'm not. I'm really not. I don't. Wow. They're relentless, aren't they, to be honest? Like,
Yeah,
it's just frustrating. They went 1-0 down. West Ham looked like they were doing all right. I've only seen the highlights, but they had chances first half. And then it's just City again. I mean, that second goal for Haaland's intelligence to leave it was
yeah.
superb. Haaland's goal. I mean, he's always going to score. It's just annoying, like a robot. Like the whole team's like a robot, but they got the result again, and that is just frustrating from an Arsenal standpoint. Frustrating from a Premier League standpoint because it's a bit boring. But they are arguably the best team of all time. So it is what it is, isn't it? Let's move on. No.
I mean,
I
it's
actually wanted to go on.
one thing I will say is it's very nice to see Jeremy Doku getting on the score sheet today because against Fulham, I had my slight concerns just because my only problem with Doku is I don't really see him as a Pep winger. He's not very ball retention based in terms of the way he plays. He's more about getting it, driving it a play. And I love these types of footballers, but it's not whether I think he's going to be incredible in that sense. It's more how he's going to fit with the Pep system. But today it's shown how important it is to have a winger in your team who drives at the opposition defenders and gets the shot away. And that was seen today with his goal to get the equaliser straight out of the blocks after half
So
time.
I have a question, right? And it's been on my mind for a while. Last season, in the league at least, for the first half of the season, City were just not at it. Like they were at it point wise, but you watched them and you thought, oh, they're getting away with it a bit here. They weren't amazing. Granted, they went on to win the treble, but I think that the end of the season form papered over some of the cracks from the early season in terms of the league. Obviously, other competitions, do what you want with them. They were great in them. They won, whatever. Is this current City side that's there now? It's clicked into gear, so it's sort of an overhang from last season, but I factor in both versions of City last season. Is this current City side this season the best Man City side that's ever been?
Well, I actually thought you were going to ask me if it's better than the Centurion season team, but you
Well,
are
to me,
asking
right?
that.
I'm ignoring the treble last season because yes, a treble's great, but like, obviously it's a top what three achievement in four achievement in Premier League history. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but the Centurion team in terms of a league, if we're on about Premier League, so you're only on about Premier League, the Centurion team is statistically better than last season's league team,
Yeah.
at least, right? So from that standpoint, is this team now? Do you think they're better than the Centurions, which in turn would be the best league city league team?
I think so. I think so because with the Centurions team, it was incredible, don't get me wrong, but I almost think that the Premier League is even more competitive now than it was
Yeah,
back then because I'm just looking at the top half of the Premier League now with the quality of Aston Villa, Brighton, and then you've obviously got the Big Six, which the thing is with the Big Six, no matter what the form is of a certain team, if you're playing against a Chelsea or you're playing against a Spurs, you never really know. There's no guarantees of what the result's going to be when you're playing a side in the Big Six. But then you've got your Villas, your Brentford, your Brightons, even Fulham have been quite solid over the past few seasons. I think that side of things has definitely made it harder for us. And it is just the Champions League that I've seen. I can't say that it's not for me because the way that we played in the Champions League, the way we'd grind out results, and yet also at the same time there'd be a few results where we just blow sides away. I mean, we won 7-0 last year against Leipzig in the round of 16. That doesn't happen every day. I mean, Haaland's got 5 goals. We've got one of the best strikers in the past 20 years in the Premier League. is unbelievable. And the point is with Haaland is it doesn't matter how he's playing. It doesn't matter whether City are feeding him. He will score. That's the point. That's how unbelievable he is. And that's what sets us apart now from the team in the Centurion season. Because at times because it was the early on in Pep's career at City, we had the first season where it struggled to gel a bit, and partly due to slight poor recruitment in parts with players like Mangala being brought in who
Bravo.
weren't really suited to the way he wanted to play. But then it gelled in the Centurion season. But the ruthlessness of us now and having someone who will just get us a goal out of nowhere. Sergio Aguero was unbelievable. I'm not taking away from him. And I love that front three of Sane, Sterling, Aguero. It's completely different, to be honest, to what we've got now. Because obviously we've now got a really tall and fast striker, whereas Aguero was more of a, I don't know really how to describe him really. He was more of a poacher, as in he
Fox in the box.
box in the box. That's sort of what it was. And then Sane and Sterling, they're kind of the opposite of you sort of Mahrez and Grealish types, as in they'd both be running straight down the line, taking a player on. That's what Doku reminds me of a little bit more, to be honest.
Yeah. See, here's the
But
thing. I think
it's
that
a bit more clinical now.
as a team right now, this is probably the best City team.
Mm-hmm.
As in, obviously, you're going off what 4 or 5 games. Like, it's not going to be the be all and end all. But I wouldn't be surprised if they only lose like 1 or 2 games this season. I don't think they'll go invincible just because, like, I just don't think that'll happen again in Premier League history. But I think they'll probably amass more points in the league than last season because it's been gelled for a lot longer. Like, it's gelled from the start. You could say as a net negative for the sort of season as a whole that that's actually an issue because if they've clicked now, then they could do an Arsenal where they burn out a bit at the end of the season. Like, whereas City last season, everyone said, oh, they got through games, not playing greatest, and then they clicked and they clicked at the right time. So you could do wait up. We don't know. The season's young. It's not. Not gonna know. But player for player, that Centurions team, I actually think is better than this team.
You reckon?
But
Right, okay.
team wise, as in like how it's clicked, how they play, etc., the structure, the players, like the technical ability of the players. In this side, I think they've gelled more and they're a better side, which is weird to say when obviously the Centurions amassed over 100 points. But, like, for example, Sterling, Aguero, Sane, I think is a better front three than what the three that you named there in Grealish, Mahrez, and Haaland. That
Yeah,
said,
I'd
I think,
agree.
yeah, like, I think in terms of quality, but obviously this City team's a different beast in terms of how it creates chances, how it's set up, how it grinds you down, the hard working, the fact you're more defensively resolute with your 4 centre
Yeah,
backs, like that sort of thing is more system based. But for me, that's what sort of tells them apart. Whereas I think if you wanted to watch a game of football, like as in a neutral watching it, you'd rather watch the Centurions because they have tricky wingers on both sides, quick wingers. The
kind of
fullbacks
get
are
that.
quick. Whereas I think this one's a bit more dominant, as in like obviously
Yeah, yes, I
like as
do
in
agree. Yeah,
if you're a neutral, you're just a bit bored because it's like 78% of the ball, inevitability of scoring. Not necessarily beautiful football, but they're just going to grind you down.
yeah,
If that makes sense. That's sort of
yeah.
my thoughts on it anyway. But I do think this is probably, in terms of a team, the best City team right now, as in this season so far, that's ever. And I think that they will surpass last season's points tally, even if they don't win the Champions League.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it is the defense that sets it apart for me because when I think back to the Centurion season, even though we were so solid throughout the season, I'm just thinking of some of the back lines that we saw with sort of Fabian Delph at left back, Otamendi. Sometimes we had a back centre back
Well,
half
I mean,
partnership of Otamendi and
it's
Fernandinho.
different. The
It's
thing is, right, they're completely
that's the thing.
different. They're different players. You can't. Fabian Delph obviously isn't the quality of the people who've played there now. Like, for example, if Laporte, well, not Laporte, he didn't play there now, but like,
Guardiola is
he played,
miles away from
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Just
But he had his role,
mhm.
just like Zinchenko had his role at City, just like João Cancelo had his role at City, and Pep just evolved his players and play style. Fabian Delph for that season was perfect for what he needed in that system.
Yeah,
Does it mean he's the best player in the world? No. But you go back to some United teams, right? Of Ferguson's. They won the league with the likes of Wes Brown, which no knocking Wes Brown, he's a great defender, but is he the level of, say, a John Terry or a Rio Ferdinand? No. But you get what you want out of them with that player. Um, so, like with Otamendi, we're knocking him, but he's still a perfectly good Premier League player, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And in the system at the time, that's just what City needed. Now, I think the issue for City going forwards in the next sort of 3 years, I'd say. So it's still a decent run, and 3 years is a long time in football. Kevin De Bruyne's getting to his twilight years, and he's been ever present. No matter what City team has been great, you're going to need an heir to Kevin De Bruyne at some point.
yeah.
What
I
is
mean,
City going to do with that? I mean,
I,
he's
I
been
mean, the thing is, he's not really played much the opening games of the season. From what I
yeah.
remember, I think he played against Burnley, went off with his a hamstring problem, a
He's
similar one.
injured now, isn't he? So
Yeah, he's out at the moment. That's the point for me. This is the thing. I think what Pep's doing is brilliant because he's got so many creative players now. I think it'll be Phil Foden realistically. I think he will be the person who
I think
steps
he's
up
good
into that
enough.
role.
Like he's
I
not.
think he is. I think he is. I mean, he's already doing it well. He's already playing this
He's doing it
role well.
well, but there's a level between Foden and De Bruyne, and
Yes,
De Bruyne's
I know
surpassed
there
him.
is, but I don't really think we're going to get to someone of De Bruyne's level. But the point is, now we've got Haaland. The onus of De Bruyne isn't as much as it used to be anyway. Because when
Yeah,
we were playing the false nine, it was all De Bruyne because everything came from him. We almost had to put the ball on the goal line for someone to score it because we didn't have a striker there. But now Haaland's there. It's almost like there's less onus on the midfield, and it's more about making sure the defense is solid and then having a lot of creativity at the top. And all, that's why Rodri has such a big role for City, because it's so difficult to have someone who strings it all together, yet is so good on the ball and is so creative as well.
the thing is, right. So in my predictions, I said that Arsenal would come top. I wouldn't say that I still think we're comfortably going to come top two, but today's game has just ruined my morale. I was all West Ham went 1-0 up. I was like, yes, get in. It's going to be
Yeah,
nice. No.
yeah,
Um. So from an outside point, it isn't nice, but you have to admire what Pep's done. I think he's got to be top two managers of all time, maybe even the best manager of all time now. And I know this is obviously off the back of the treble, but this team is so I'm so impressed by how it just constantly is evolving. Even today, the system was slightly different with where Bernardo Silva played. Like
yeah,
it's constantly ever changing, and it's sort of like what Arteta's been doing at Arsenal in terms of you've got players, but they can play in different positions. So White can play right back, centre back. You've got Tomiyasu who can play left back, centre back, right back. You've got like, for example, I don't know, Declan Rice. He can play as a 6 or an 8, whichever one you want. Erdegaard can do a 10 or an 8. Like there's so many different interchangeabilities. Eddie can play on the wing if needs be. Gabriel Jesus plays on the wing if needs be. My point being is that you can see very clearly where Arteta's got that idea from, which is a
yeah,
sign of a great manager and a testament to Pep. The fact that other managers are building their not necessarily even styles, they're building their squads in the
yeah,
same way that Pep's doing. Even now, I mean, to be honest, I think the fullback thing has been. I know obviously Pep started the fullback thing with centre backs, but if you actually look, other than for the last few years, Ben White's been playing on the right back. So it's like it seems like not. I'm not obviously using Arteta blowing his own horn. I'm just saying across football, it's been a change that's been slowly implemented by many different managers. So it's not necessarily even Pep's idea, but Pep's
yeah,
done it to an ability that other managers just don't have. And
yeah,
yes, that is testament to him. It has also got to be factored in that City have the ability to find the best players and buy the best players at doing that role. But it's just how seamless these transitions happen with City. Like last season, they weren't at the best for the first half of the season. They just weren't. Some
yeah,
stuff were going on behind the scenes. Not everything was clicking, but they were still getting the results and they were still getting the 3 points, and they still managed to, even in that period of transition, and I believe they've come out of that period of transition now. Even in that period of transition, they clicked. Like
yeah,
now, they're on the other side. Walker's future's secured now. You've got a younger team from Laporte leaving, Gavardio coming in. Aki's now obviously what 26, 27. He's not that old.
Yeah.
And the future's bright, but the transition seems to be done. And let's be honest, with City, now you've got rid of the likes of Gundogan. That transition's done with Kovacic. The the only real thing that's going to hinder them in or stop them in the next few years is either Pep leaving or when Haaland decides that he wants to move to Real Madrid. That's it. They're inevitable. They might even win the next three. And that is why right now City are probably at the best they've ever been.
Yeah. Yeah. What surprised me is, like you say, with the transitions, this year for me has been the best transition, not only for the whole team, but the new signings.
Mm.
All of the new signings have just gone straight into the team, first game that they've played, and it's looked like they've played there for like
Well, I thought they
a
were
couple of
gonna. I
seasons.
thought they were gonna. I thought City were. When you look at the sales, they did lose some big names.
Yeah,
Like obviously Gundogan's gone. João Cancelo's gone, which obviously he'd already semi-left in January. But you got to remember he's come back, trained for what 3 months with the team. He'll have integrated into that squad, and he seems to be a big character. He's gone. The amount of
yeah.
people they've sort of shipped out happily, and
I mean,
then
Laporte, Mahrez, you've lost
yeah,
those two
Laporte's
as
a
well. They've
massive
been very
Laporte.
important.
People forget before his injury about 3 to 4 seasons ago, Laporte was looked at as one of the top two centre backs in the world. Now, yeah, he does. He isn't. He's gone off to bloody wherever, Saudi or something. But like, these are big name players who have been there for a long, long time. Um, and yeah, so it's going to be interesting, to say the least. But I do think that City have got stronger. Weirdly, the transitions happened a lot quicker, so I'm scared for the league. My only hope as an Arsenal fan is either a Haaland injury or which you never want, or just general like tiredness. But it's not going to happen. So well done, 4 time in a row champions, Man City. That's all I'll
I
say.
wouldn't go too soon. I won't go too soon. One thing I will say though about this season is that I think there isn't as obvious of. I mean, we're very early on. Don't get me wrong, but for me, there's not a very obvious title contender to City. I think Arsenal are the second best team in the league, but I don't see them clearly as going to push us for the title this year.
Oh,
I
hot
don't know what
take.
it is about it, but maybe it's to do with sort of there are certain teams like in the bottom half or the
Yeah,
like I said, the Villas, the Brentfords that are more
yeah,
competitive. I
that's
just
where
don't.
I think I'm still. So last season, I didn't think we'd have a chance, and then obviously in January, I thought, oh, way up, we're doing well here. This season, every single game we've been the better team. We dropped points to Fulham, stupid mistake, but we were comfortably the better team, like throughout. And this is playing. It's to me, this Arsenal now is City at the start of last season. They're trying to implement a new thing, and it's not clicked. But that said,
Yeah,
I've looked around the league. I've looked at how Liverpool performed versus Newcastle. Um, Obviously they've come back and played well out the teeth, but they really should have lost that game. And how they performed at the start of the season. The only one that seems quite close to Arsenal at the moment in terms of performances is Spurs.
yeah,
And I don't think they've got the lasting quality in terms of players and squad depth to be able to keep that up. I think still, I think the early season form's a bit of a vase. I think still Arsenal will get 80 to 85 points. I think they might even get more. And I think that City might get 100 plus. I think that personally, from looking at how United are this season, who were the closest to Arsenal last season in terms of the second to third, they're so far off it. I genuinely
yeah,
think that City are so good, but the points between second and first is going to be closer to the points between third and second, and that's
yeah.
honestly my opinion. I
Okay,
think
right, okay.
we're so much better than the other teams, and I might be wrong, and we might get bullied at Everton like when we go tomorrow. But the point was so much better than these other teams in the games I've seen, and so much. Obviously, Kai Havertz is Kai Havertz. He's not doing very well at the moment, but like other than that, everything's clicking. And we got Declan Rice in, etc. I mean, we're so much better than the other teams that we're closer this season than we were last season to City in terms of quality. But I think that City have clicked so soon that's going to be the difference, which will mean that you'll get over 100 points. And at that point, if you get over 100 points, then like no team's going to stop it, if that makes sense. So, but I think that's just because of the situations at the clubs as well. I think player for player, obviously City have a better thing, but the thing that got us through last season was our team spirit. Now I don't think City necessarily have any issues with team spirit, if that makes sense. So
Yeah,
that's why they'll propel. So I think we'll gain on the points we had last season, is what I'm trying to say. Like we
okay,
might get 85 plus. But I think City will also gain because they don't have the stuff in the background now. So they're going to get 100 plus easily in my head.
yeah,
So that's my thoughts anyway. I think we've improved to
yeah.
answer your question. But yeah.
Right, okay.
But
So
yeah.
let us know what you think about City. Which do you think is the best Manchester City team in history? Do you think it's the Centurions? Do you even think it's maybe the one that pipped Liverpool to the title by 1 point? Because that was, I mean, on
It
both
had fight in it. It
occasions,
had Vinny Company screamer.
yeah, that was a very solid team as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's easy. It's got to be easily this one now. Thinking about
Yeah,
it,
I mean,
because like this one now is obviously the leftovers of last season,
mm.
minus a few sort of bad eggs, but they've increased with Kovacic and who was your other centre mid signing? I don't know.
So we got Kovacic and I don't. Oh, Mateus Nunes, yes, of
Yeah,
course.
Nunes, that's the one.
Yeah,
So yeah, and Phillips doesn't start even still, but why he stayed there, I'll never know. But whatever.
why not? Just keep winning trophies. It's not a bad gig, is it?
No. Anyway, thank you for watching, everyone. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more from me and Alex. We are going to the Arsenal Everton game tomorrow. Should be good. But yeah, other than that, thank you for watching.